My name is Amelia. I am 26 years old. I live in a quiet town in Texas, in the United States. I work at a small clothing store in the center of town. My days were always the same. I woke up, made breakfast, went to work, and came home. I didn't have many friends. I didn't go out much. I spent most evenings watching TV or reading a book. One Saturday afternoon, I went to the shopping center. My cousin's birthday was coming, and I wanted to buy her something nice. I walked into a bookstore and started looking at the shelves. I saw a man standing near me, holding a book in his hand. He looked up and smiled. "Looking for something good?" he asked. I smiled back. "Just a gift for my cousin. She likes to read." He held up the book. "This one is not bad. I read it last month." He seemed friendly, so we talked for a few minutes. He told me his name was Ethan. He worked at an office not far from the store. He was funny and kind. His eyes were warm, and his voice was calm. Before I left, he said, "Can I give you my number? Maybe we can have coffee sometime." I was surprised, but I gave him my phone. He typed in his number and smiled again. "Text me if you want to meet," he said. That night, he sent a message. "It was nice to talk to you today." We started texting every day. A few days later, we met for coffee. It was nice. We sat at a small table outside the cafe. We talked about work, movies, music, and life. We both liked simple things, quiet places, old movies, and evening walks. I felt very comfortable with him. After that, we saw each other often. We met after work. Sometimes we had dinner. Sometimes we just walked around town. He listened to me, and he always made me laugh. He said I made him feel calm. He said he liked how real I was. After 2 months, we became a couple. I felt lucky. He called me every morning to say good morning. He sent goodnight messages. When I had a hard day at work, he came over with my favorite snack. When I was tired, he held my hand and let me rest. He made me feel safe. He made me feel loved. One day I asked, "Did you have a girlfriend before me?" He looked at me and smiled. "Yes, a long time ago, but it didn't work out." "Do you still talk to her?" I asked. "No," he said. "That's all in the past." I believed him. I didn't ask more questions. I trusted him. We kept spending time together. I started to imagine a future with him. I thought, maybe he's the one. But slowly, things began to change. He stopped calling every morning. He didn't ask how my day was. He still came to see me, but he looked tired. He was on his phone more. He didn't smile as much. One Friday night, he said he couldn't come. "Work is crazy," he said. "I need to stay late." I said, "Okay. Take care." But something didn't feel right. On Sunday afternoon, I was scrolling through social media. I stopped when I saw a photo. It was Ethan. He was at a cafe. He was not alone. A woman was sitting across from him. They were smiling. The post was from her page. Her name was Sophie. The words under the photo said, "So good to see you again, just like old times." My hands were shaking. I read the post again. It was from yesterday. I felt sick. My heart was beating fast. He didn't tell me about this. He told me he was working. That night I couldn't sleep. I waited for him to call or message. He didn't. The next morning I sent a message. "How was your weekend?" He replied, "Busy. A lot of work." I waited, but he didn't say more, so I asked, "Did you meet someone?" There was a long pause. Then he wrote, "Yes, I saw Sophie. Just for coffee." I read the message 3 times. I wanted to believe it meant nothing, but the photo showed something else. The way they looked at each other. It didn't feel like just coffee. I didn't reply. I needed time to think. The next day, I met him in the park. He looked nervous. I sat down on the bench. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "I didn't want to hurt you," he said. "It was just one time. She asked to meet." "Do you still love her?" I asked. He looked away. "I don't know," he said. That broke me. "You told me it was over," I said. "I thought it was," he said softly. "But when I saw her, I felt something again. I didn't expect it." I felt like I couldn't breathe. I stood up. "I don't want to be second," I said. "If you still love her, then be with her. But don't lie to me." He didn't stop me. He didn't say anything else. I walked away. My eyes were full of tears. I didn't look back. That night, I sat on my bed and looked at my phone. I opened our old messages. I read the sweet things he used to say. I looked at our pictures. We looked so happy, but now I knew. He never really let go of her. I was just filling a space in his life. I cried until I fell asleep. In the morning, I didn't feel better. I felt empty. I didn't go to work. I just sat in the kitchen drinking cold coffee. My heart felt heavy. Later, I told my best friend what happened. She said, "You did the right thing. You can't be with someone who still lives in the past." I agreed quietly, but it still hurt. Days passed. He didn't message me. I didn't message him either. I waited, hoping he would choose me, but he didn't. I learned something that week. Love should not feel like a question. If someone loves you, you should not have to fight for their heart. You should not have to wait for their decision. Ethan made his choice. He didn't say it in words, but his silence said everything. He loved his ex more. Before I go on, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The days after I walked away from Ethan felt long and quiet. I still woke up early. I still went to work. But everything felt different. I didn't smile at customers the way I used to. I didn't talk much with the girls at the store. I just wanted to go home and be alone. Everywhere I went, I saw something that reminded me of him. The coffee shop near my apartment, the park bench where we sat, even the little shop where we first met. All these places felt cold now, empty. One night, I saw a couple walking hand in hand. The girl laughed and leaned on the man's shoulder. I turned away. I didn't want to see love. Not now. I thought I had that too. But it wasn't real. Not for him. I didn't hear from Ethan for almost 2 weeks. At first I waited. Every time my phone made a sound, I hoped it was him. But it never was. After some time, I stopped checking. I told myself not to care. But deep inside, I still did. Then one afternoon, I saw him. I was coming out of the grocery store. I was holding a small bag of fruit and bread. He was across the street. He was not alone. Sophie was with him. They were walking slowly. She was smiling. He was looking at her. They looked like a couple, not like two people meeting once, like two people who knew each other very well. I stopped walking. My heart started to beat fast. I didn't want to see this. I turned and walked the other way. I didn't want him to see me. I didn't want to feel small. When I got home, I sat on the floor. I didn't cry. I just felt tired. Tired of hoping. Tired of asking questions. Tired of feeling like I was not enough. That evening, my friend Layla came to see me. She brought pizza. We sat on my couch. I didn't want to talk about Ethan, but she asked, "Did he ever reach out?" She said. "No," I answered. "But I saw him today." Her face changed. "Was he alone?" "No. She was with him. Sophie." Layla stayed quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You deserve someone who chooses you fully, not someone who walks beside you while thinking of someone else." I nodded. Her words were true. I just didn't know how to feel better. After that, I tried to focus on myself. I started reading again. I listened to music I liked. I cleaned my apartment and threw away the things that reminded me of him. A gift bag, an old receipt, a photo on my phone. Little things, but they hurt. One morning, I was getting ready for work when I saw a message. It was from Ethan. "Can we talk?" I stared at the screen. My hand felt cold. I didn't answer right away. I thought for a long time. Then I typed back, "Why now?" He replied, "I need to see you. Just once." I didn't know if I should say yes, but part of me still wanted answers. We met in a small park near his office. It was late afternoon. The sun was low and the sky was orange. He was already there, sitting on a bench. I walked over. He stood up. "Hi," he said. "Hi." I said back. We sat down. There was a short silence. "I'm sorry," he said. "I hurt you." I didn't say anything. He looked down. "I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted." "You knew," I said. "You just didn't want to lose both of us." He nodded slowly. "Maybe that's true. I didn't handle it right." I looked at him. "So, are you with her now?" "Yes," he said. "But I think about you." I shook my head. "That doesn't help me." He looked sad. "I miss you, Amelia. You were good to me. Better than I deserved." I stood up. I didn't want to hear more. "You miss me," I said. "But you didn't choose me." He stood too. I was scared. With her, I knew what to expect. But with you, it felt too real, too deep. I didn't cry. Not this time. I just looked at him. "You can't come back now," I said. "I'm not the same girl anymore." He didn't stop me as I walked away. Again. This time, it felt different. It still hurt, but I felt stronger. I knew I deserved more. In the weeks that followed, I started to feel lighter. I went to work with a little more energy. I even went out with Layla and her friends one Friday night. I laughed for the first time in weeks. Life was not perfect, but it was moving. Sometimes I still thought about Ethan. I thought about our walks, our talks, the little moments. But now, I also thought about how he made me feel unsure, how he didn't fight for me. And when I remembered that, I knew I made the right choice. I wasn't his second option. I was someone who wanted real love, honest love, full love. And one day, I believed I would find it. Weeks passed. The cold days slowly turned warm. Spring was coming. The trees near my apartment had small flowers again. People in town smiled more. But inside me, the pain was still there, just smaller than before. I no longer waited for messages from Ethan. I no longer checked his page. I told myself, if he wanted to stay, he would have. That thought helped me feel strong. At work, things got better. I smiled more. I spoke with the other girls. I helped customers with real care. I wasn't just working to forget someone. I was working for myself now. One morning, I arrived early at the store. I stood by the window and looked out at the street. I watched people pass. I saw an old couple walking hand in hand. Their steps were slow, but their smiles were real. I thought, that's the kind of love I want. The kind that stays. After work, I went to a new cafe with Layla. It had soft music and warm lights. We sat near the window and talked for a long time. She asked, "How do you feel now?" I said, "I feel better. Not perfect, but better." She smiled. "You look better too. You look like Amelia again." That evening, I walked home alone. But I didn't feel lonely. I felt calm. My chest didn't feel heavy like before. A few days later, I got a call from an old friend named Harper. She used to live in the same town but moved away for work. She said she was visiting for a week and wanted to meet. We met at the park. We sat on the grass and talked like we used to. I told her everything about Ethan. She listened and then said something simple. "You didn't lose anything. He did." Her words stayed in my mind for days. Maybe she was right. One Sunday, I cleaned my apartment from top to bottom. I washed the curtains. I changed the bed sheets. I even moved the sofa to clean under it. I wanted everything to feel fresh, new, clean. That night, I stood in the middle of my room. I looked around. I took a deep breath. It was quiet, but it didn't feel sad. It felt like peace. The next weekend, I went to a small event in town. It was a local market with music and food. I walked around, looked at handmade things, and tasted fresh lemonade. I saw familiar faces. I smiled. I wasn't hiding anymore. At one of the stalls, a man was selling small plants. I looked at a little green one in a round pot. "You like plants?" he asked. I looked up. The man had a soft smile. "Yes," I said, "but I always forget to water them." He laughed. "This one's strong. It can wait for you." We talked for a few minutes. His name was Ben. He lived one town over and grew plants in his garden. He was quiet, but kind. When I walked away with my new plant, he said, "I hope it lives a long life." I smiled. "Me too." It was a short meeting, but it felt nice. Just simple and kind. That night, I placed the small plant on my window table. I looked at it and thought, maybe I can take care of something again. Days turned into weeks. One afternoon, I saw Ethan again. I was walking home from the store. He was across the street, alone. He saw me. I saw him. He gave a small wave. I nodded, then looked away. I didn't stop. I didn't feel pain. I just felt done. He had his chance. He made his choice. And so did I. Back at home, I made tea and sat near the window. The plant was still there, green and growing. It made me smile. I thought about everything that happened. I thought about how I loved him, how I hoped he would love me too, how I gave my heart and waited for him to choose me. But in the end, I chose myself. I learned that love is not just about warm words or soft looks. Love is about action, about staying, about truth. He didn't choose me, and that truth saved me. It hurt at first, but now I was free. I didn't need to forget him. I only needed to remember myself, the girl who smiled at small things, the girl who helped others, the girl who wanted love that stayed. She was still here, and now she was ready for something real. Maybe one day I would meet someone who truly saw me, someone who didn't look back, someone who would stand beside me with both feet in. Until then, I had myself, and that was more than enough. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.